welcome back, I hope, to the show Living with Climate Change. Today's show is going to look at how we can reduce our impact on the environment individually. This show won't be too long, and I know you know all about probably making ways to reduce your impact on the planet, and there are many videos about that, but I want to share you maybe just some things that you might not know that might be helpful. So the first thing I want to talk about is just basic consumerism. Whenever you buy something, that sends a message to the business, the company, that you like this and you want, that tells them to produce more of it. So anything we buy, we are sending that message. And for instance, if you don't want fossil fuels in the world, if no one bought them, then they would stop producing them. But we know at the moment that that's very hard to do. But that's the idea, that, to vote or be political in that way. Watch what you buy. If you're well off, then I can't imagine not buying energy efficient appliances and renewable energy, buying renewable energy, thinking about solar panels or wind or whatever you can. And we know really that the more money you have, the more impact you have. And so that's a responsibility of, if you make a lot of money, then you have more of a responsibility to the environment and nature. And if people that don't have very much money are not impacting the environment as much, or unless they do it in other ways, destructive ways directly to the environment. But that's another argument about developed countries helping the developing countries. So it's what you buy, a big thing, and that's with your diet and all these things. I want to just give you something that you may not know, a way of looking at products. There's a thing called life cycle analysis, or life cycle assessment. And this looks at the overall impact of products. It's also called cradle to grave. So it's looking at the entire entire cycle of extracting, processing, manufacturing, distributing, using, and disposing of products and its impact on the environment. And I'm sure most major companies, have look at this very, very much and try to make it as least impact as they can. At least they should be doing that. But that is a very important thing. So you could, watch what you buy. If it's being transported, if something is organic, but it's being transported over long distances, then it may not be very sustainable, and it may have a lot of embodied energy, as they call it, all the energy that goes into the whole use, the whole cycle of things. And this can affect recycling and all kinds of things. So I just want to let you know that if you see a product and it says eco-friendly or something, question it. I'm not saying that they're lying, but this is the way I think we need to start thinking. It's quite frustrating that given the knowledge we have, and we have students and people going into schools and getting degrees in sustainable development and sustainability and environmental science, and they can't find jobs and all that. And I just can't imagine a world now that that every business and every home should have like a sustainability office, and thinking about these things all the time, energy efficiency, and all the sustainability. I mean, that's getting better, I guess. When I was in a city that, they had one person in the sustainability department for the whole city. But that's something I can't imagine in the future, if we're going to try to solve this, that there would be more of that. And that'd be a very integral part of even in your own home. Let's move on to just some things that as individuals we can do. The next thing is something that's very easy to do, is to reuse things. Not recycle, but reuse them. I mean, that's the most efficient way and sustainable way. And that could be just buying used things, going to Goodwill or garage sales or eBay and Amazon, and you buy things like that used, but you do have the transport. And energy efficient appliances, another thing was definitely are worthwhile. Of course, recycle and compost. I'm sure everybody knows about that. If you have your own home, after you compost, after you recycle, after you reuse, you really shouldn't have much left. Now then, look at your activities. Clearly, and probably the main thing that you could do, as they say, is to just not drive, but that's hard for people. Activities, try to, do things that have less energy use, if you can, if you want. Now, I want to talk about another thing that people may not know about, kind of a concept, and it's called the rebound effect. And to give you an example, let's say that you have a car and it gets bad gas mileage, and so you buy a car that it gets twice as much gas mileage. But then because of this, you drive twice as much. So that's what is like the rebound effect. The energy savings are offset by increased use. And this is like a really serious thing that people do that they're not aware of it. And I just wanted to mention that. Also, you could purchase green energy, obviously, and do all these things, solar panels and these things. If you have a home, I wanted to mention things that are very easy to do, that can have massive savings. I bought a house, little house, and it had no trees in the yard. And in the summer, that house heated up and got so hot, it was unbelievable. Now, you obviously shade trees, and they take a long time to grow, yes. But I planted some fast-growing trees, and it didn't take long. And the key thing, if you can, plant those on the west side of your house. So in the late afternoon, when it gets hot and that sun continues to beat down, that your house can get that it gets shade at that time. If you could only shade one side, that would be where you'd want to shade it, the west side of the house. And but it's amazing. My trees and all the things that I did to my little house, it allowed me to. I really didn't need to use air conditioning, even in the summer, even in hot, humid summers. At night, I would have the windows open and fans going, and the house would cool down. And in the morning, I'd shut up the house, and because of the shade trees, um, it would stay cool a long time, so 5 o'clock. And so that's a way you can do it. And then, these deciduous trees, they drop their leaves, and then in the winter, your house gets some sunlight, so it can warm up the house a little bit. And the sun angles usually change, so the south facing gets the most in the winter. Which another thing that I did, that my little house, you can use passive heat. And I had a little porch. Somebody had glassed it in, glass enclosure that you could take on and off, and they were old single pane glass. But my house, that porch faced south, and it was great because in the winter, on sunny days, that little porch just heated up, amazing. And I actually could open the windows connecting to the porch, and the heat would come into the house, and I could put a fan on, and it would just blow in heat into the house. Wonderful to sit in a warm, sun-heated porch. But those are some of the things that architecturally, we can do so many things. There is so much design that makes no sense. The design of houses that they are oriented to the street instead of nature and the sun and prevailing winds to cool your house in the summer, and architects know all this stuff, but developers come in and they don't know, and they just made these houses that they don't make any sense. They're not environmentally designed, and so we can change that. Obviously, I'm not going to go on anymore, but those are just things that you can do. And obviously, there's activism in the U.S. There's some politicians coming along, and we got this Green New Deal, and it, it's encouraging. The thing that I mentioned, Ted Turner, I like him so much, and he gave $1 billion to the UN, and he's working on renewable energy as much as he can. He's getting so old, people don't listen to him anymore. But this world, if philanthropy, if all the billionaires and the multimillionaires just decided that they were going to help make the world a better place, with all that money that they will never be able to spend, that they've got, not all of them, and many are doing good things, I'm sure, but the wealth distribution, we know, is such an unnecessary thing that, what's the point of having money that's going to last your extended families for hundreds of years? But if they all got together and decided, we're going to change the world and deal with these problems, and they could do it, I think. I hope the show is helpful to you. It's helpful to me. I'll continue making these videos for as long as I can, and these shows. I thank you for joining me, and please stay tuned for the next episode of Living with Climate Change. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Bye.